No, really, no. It was crazy. The old lady was just laying there, like, "Oh, you broke my leg." I was just like, "Okay, whatever, Grandma. I told you not to walk through that doorway while I'm practicing my backflips." Oh man. I'm really glad that we were able to get together. I've missed this. Hey, all cheers to that. Listen, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick before our food gets here. Okay, I'll be right back.
Ooh, Nelly, that was a doozy of a dump. I mean, let me tell you, that bowl looked like I cracked open a can of chili and shook it like a champagne bottle.
Man, something really weird just happened in the bathroom. Sorry to interrupt. I was just telling your friend here that we're gonna be bringing your appetizers out in a moment, okay? Yeah, for sure. Okay, like I was saying, something really weird just. Sorry, I was.
Ooh, Nelly, that was a doozy of a dump. That bowl looked like I cracked open a can of chili and shook it like a champagne bottle.
Sir, your bowl of chili. Okay, maybe it didn't all happen just like that, but I think you see what I'm getting at. We live in a very particular time. On one hand, it's nice to live in a world where I don't have to worry about bedpans being emptied on my head when I'm walking down the sidewalk. On the other hand, I hate the fact that I just don't know what I'm going to get when I walk into my local Walmart bathroom. I really do think the world would be a wonderful place if we could just nail down some proper public etiquette. I don't know why this is something that bothers me so much. I honestly can't figure out if we've progressed as a society or regressed when it comes to stuff like this. Somehow we've done both in a way. Like, obviously we're more civilized than, I don't know, public baths or pooping in a hole in the ground. Like, yeah, that's progress. But at the same time, we shun the idea of high-class behavior because it's outdated to call bathrooms powder rooms or wear a collared shirt to bed. All I know is that if I hear one more person hawking a loogie while ripping a juicy one standing in line at McDonald's, and yes, that has happened before, then I'm gonna lose my mind. But now I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's not that society has moved forward and backwards at the same time, but instead that society itself is dividing into two camps. Those who keep their undesirable bodily processes behind closed doors, and those who don't. And if we don't solve this division quick, we'll have on our hands an all-out war. Let's gripe about it, shall we? Hello everyone and welcome to Gripes. I'm your host, Noah DeGeorge. Before we get into everything, this is your first and only warning. Okay, the subject matter that we're going to get into today is, if you hadn't already guessed, it's going to do a lot with farts. And if you can't handle that, then I don't know what to tell you. So apparently this conversation dates back all the way to like the 1800s. Unfortunately, I couldn't find much actual historical evidence for how or why this came about, but plenty of records hold that in Florida, it is illegal to fart in public after 6 p.m. Some sources say that the law goes as far as to ban public farts after 6 p.m. only on Thursdays. Now, is that just an additional little tweak to make this old wives' tale a little bit more intriguing and absurd? Could be. All I know is everywhere I look, this prehistoric law comes up, and you'd be right to laugh. I mean, it is ludicrous to criminally ban farting in public, right? Right? Well, in 2011, a small country in Africa, the country of Malawi, passed a bill that prohibited the fouling of the air. According to the Solicitor General of the Malawian Parliament, the bill was intended to be interpreted to ban things like smoking or burning trash, that sort of thing. At the expense of the Parliament's dignity, however, the Minister of Justice himself caved to journalists' interpretation of the law, saying basically, Yeah, it could be interpreted as banning farting. Yeah, let's do that. Let's ban farting in public. The relevant portion of the bill reads as follows. Any person who vitiates the atmosphere in any place so as to make it noxious to the public, to the health of persons in general dwelling or carrying on business in the neighborhood, or passing along a public way shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. I'll let you interpret that however you see fit. So for the people who like to let it loose around strangers, we begin to see a problem. With this bill passing, there is at least one place in the world now with legal precedent when it comes to this kind of thing. And when it comes to criminal cases, precedent is everything. One case can determine the laws that are put into practice from then on. Surely, though, this kind of thing wouldn't happen in America, right? I mean, we're talking about the land of the free here. Freedom of expression is kind of our whole thing. Unless, however, farting does not constitute free expression. Last year in Austria, a man was fined an amount equivalent to about $600 because he farted at a police officer while the police officer was doing a routine identity check. And when appearing in court, the judge ruled that farts by nature do not contain any communicative content and therefore still fall under the category of social inappropriateness. Why am I bringing up Austria if we're worried about our American freedom, though? Well, it all comes down to precedent again, because the good old US of A is not free from farting charges either, but ours are a little bit more complex. In 2020, a man in Wichita Falls, Texas was arrested after he assaulted his girlfriend because she said that his farts smelled horrible. Honestly, what I wouldn't give to be a fly on the wall in that situation. Also in 2020, a woman viciously attacked her father after getting into an argument about his excessive farting one night, and she was booked with domestic battery. So far, these cases have been kind of where the fart is the accessory to the crime, not the actual charge itself. However, back in 2008, a man was charged with battery after farting at a police officer when he failed a sobriety test when he was pulled over for driving without headlights. So for those of you worrying if your gas is about to be criminalized, I wouldn't worry just yet. The battery charges were dropped. So we're good, right? I mean, no American legal precedents for farts being banned? Well, it might not stay that way. At the beginning of this episode, I put forth that the division between those who fart in public and those who don't will bring about a full-on war. In order to understand how I see this coming about, let's go back to the old-timey Florida fart law thing. Like I said, real or not, this law has been shared across the internet far and wide. And what do you get when you cover enough ground on the internet? You get people like this guy who shared a comment in the forum section of idiotlaws.com, just one of the many places that this law was shared. First of all, his username is Dutch_oven, and he says, "Good thing I don't live there. I freaking love to fart!" with 8 exclamation marks. Okay, I mean, a bit excessive and a little crass, but I don't think Mr. Oven here is hurting anyone. But he does sound like someone who may join the ranks of the fart brigade, led by our next commenter. Robert says, "I will fart whenever, wherever, and on whoever I damn well please, as often as I damn well please. Don't like it? Tough shit. And if they put me in jail, I'll fart on all the people there too. If they kill me, I'll come back as a farting ghost and fart on them. Fart power!" Now, I can maybe see this being interpreted as a bit of humor, but let's pretend, just for a second, that this guy is serious about assaulting other people with his farts because he feels like he has the right to do so. You may be seeing where this is going. Our final and most problematic comment comes from the commanding officer of the fart brigade himself, Paul. Farting in public? Ask any doctor. The average person cuts one every hour. So who is the person that has shit for brains that thought that one up? Sorry, I wasn't thinking. It had to be a politician. So the Gooberman is going to hire butt sniffers to enforce this dumb shit law? Maybe they could do that themselves. Oops, that would require a brain slightly larger than a mouse. My mistake! We have crossed the line of reason with this one. This is not just a funny, harmless joke about some dumb law. This is a person actively hating the government and taking it out in the comment section of a website dedicated to some dumb law. The only reason that I know that these are Paul's true feelings about this or that this guy has disillusioned himself into thinking that this law was just signed into being by Joe Biden himself or something. It's clearly written with a current political landscape in mind, which is where we get into really dangerous territory. Because what do these three commenters all have in common? They will not have anyone telling them where they can and can't fart. They will not have anyone telling them what they are not allowed to do with something that has always considered to be free. Or maybe we can put it this way. They will not allow politicians to make rules about their bodies. Sounds like a familiar sentiment. These people are the ones that will see any effort to regulate public decency as the war on farts. Of course, that is if it gets to that point, but the more important question is, will it? Let's go back to that conversation about precedents, but not from a criminal charge standpoint, from a dangerousness standpoint. In 2018, a flight from Dubai to Amsterdam had to make an emergency landing after an elderly man refused a direct order from the pilot to stop farting, which led to a fight. In the same year, a woman in a Dollar General store farted loudly, and the man next to her complained, which, I mean, yeah, that's probably the appropriate reaction. But then she pulled a knife on him and said, "I'm gonna gut you." In 2016, a woman undergoing surgery at Tokyo Medical University Hospital farted, and the gas was ignited by a laser that was being used during the operation. Luckily, nothing in the operating room was in danger of catching fire. Unluckily, though, the woman suffered severe burns on her legs and her body and had to be treated with surgery again for those. Okay, so if you've been watching to this point, first of all, thanks. And second of all, this war may remind you of something, or rather someone who's a pretty pertinent voice in this conversation. He's someone who, how do I put this? Well, he lives in a pineapple under the sea. The Battle of Bikini Bottom, Season 5, Episode 97B. Honestly, one of the best SpongeBob episodes, in my opinion. That's just me, okay? But it's a hyperbolic depiction of what this war might actually look like. But, as is customary for SpongeBob episodes, everything works out okay in the end. SpongeBob ends the episode with this monologue. "Fret not, my friend, for I have learned the truth. It matters not whether one is dirty or clean, for can cleanliness exist without filthiness? And would we know filthiness without cleanliness? We must not reenact the history that divides us. Rather, we must embrace that which draws us together. All must be free to choose their own path." Here's the thing, though. All of the cases that we just talked about, even some of the ones that we talked about before, they're all indicative of a world where disregarding socially appropriate behavior puts yourself and others in danger. And because this is my show and I do what I want, I'm sorry, SpongeBob, but I'm going to have to side with criminalizing socially inappropriate conduct. And is it any surprise that I have to choose a side? I mean, we live in a world where everything is about sides. There is no unity in difference. Really, though, the biggest thing that matters is when, not if, when America finds itself knee-deep in the war on farts, whose side will you be on? Sir, I know that you've had a difficult night, so the manager wanted to come out and personally apologize on behalf of the restaurant. So we want to make you feel comfortable. He's right here, actually.
Hey, friendo.
Thanks for griping with me today. If you want to get to know me, your host, and what else I do here on the internet, you can check out all the different projects I'm a part of down in the description below. But enough about me. I'll see you on the next episode of Gripes.